There are days when the silence in your home feels louder than any sound you used to hear. You may sit in the same chair as always, look around the same room, and still feel like something important is missing. It is not always a big dramatic pain. Sometimes it is a quiet ache that follows you from morning to night. You may not even have words for it at first. You only know that life feels thinner now. You wake up and the house is still. No footsteps, no voice from the next room, no little rush. You make your coffee. You stand by the sink. You look out the window and wonder why the day feels so long already. Your phone sits nearby. You glance at it without thinking. No call, no message, no real reason to pick it up. You may tell yourself it should not matter this much, but deep down, it does matter. What hurts is not only being alone. What hurts is feeling less noticed inside your own life. You spent years being needed, years answering calls, solving problems, showing up, remembering birthdays, keeping things together. Now the world can seem to move without asking where you are, how you feel, or what this day is like for you. That change can cut deeper than most people understand. It can make you feel like you are fading around the edges. You may still smile when someone visits. You may still say you are fine because it feels easier. But after the door closes, the quiet comes back, and it settles in the room beside you. Even weekends can feel strange now. They used to mean something. Family, errands, noise, plans, routine. Now a Saturday can arrive and leave almost untouched, like it passed by your window instead of through your life. You may sit at the kitchen table a little longer than usual, not because you are busy, but because there is nowhere to hurry. You may turn on the television for company, even when you are not really watching it. You may walk from one room to another, not looking for anything, only trying to shake the stillness. And sometimes, the hardest part is this: you do not want to bother anyone by saying how lonely you feel. So you carry it quietly. You make it smaller with your words, even while it feels bigger in your chest. If this feels close to your life, stay here with me for a little while. You do not need to fix everything today. You only need to let yourself feel seen for a moment. Loneliness after 65 often hits harder because life has already taken so much out of your daily world. Retirement changes more than a paycheck. It changes your rhythm, your purpose, and the simple comfort of regular contact. You no longer see the same people every day. You no longer have the same reason to get dressed and step out. Friendships can fade slowly, not because anyone meant harm, but because time, illness, distance, and tiredness change everything. Some friends move away. Some stop driving. Some become caregivers. Some are simply gone. And when one familiar face disappears, it leaves a space larger than anyone else can see. If you lost a husband or wife, the loss does not stay in the past. It shows up in ordinary moments. It shows up when you reach for a second plate without thinking, then remember you only need one. It shows up when evening comes and there is no one to tell about the small thing that happened today. It shows up in the bed, in the hallway, in the grocery store, in the quiet ride home. Even if your children love you, they may be pulled in many directions: work, stress, bills, their own families. You may understand all of that and still feel hurt by how little time is left for you. Love does not always remove loneliness. Sometimes it makes the distance easier to notice. Health changes can make things worse too. When your body slows down, your world can shrink without warning. It gets harder to go out, harder to drive at night, harder to stand long enough, harder to trust your energy. Then the places that once gave you connection start to feel out of reach. A church visit becomes a big effort. A lunch invitation becomes something you think twice about. Even simple things can begin to feel complicated, and little by little, you stay home more. That is how loneliness grows, not all at once, but quietly, through many small losses. You may find yourself waiting for the phone to ring more than you want to admit. You may think about calling someone, then stop because you do not want to sound needy. You may start a message and erase it. You may say, maybe later, and then the day ends. Sometimes the pain is not sharp. Sometimes it is a dull feeling that says, maybe I matter less now. That thought can sit heavily inside you, even if you know it is not fully true. You may look around and wonder when life became something you mostly remember instead of something you still belong to. And that question can break your heart in a very quiet way. Can I ask you something gentle? When does the loneliness feel strongest for you? In the morning, in the evening, or after someone leaves? Sometimes naming the hardest moment helps you understand your own heart a little better. Because this feeling is not random. It has shape, it has patterns, it has certain doors it walks through. And once you begin to notice that, something soft begins to change. Not all at once, not like a miracle, but enough to let a little light back in. Loneliness does not mean your life is over. It does not mean your best feelings are behind you. It only means you are human and your heart still knows the value of closeness. That is not weakness. That is love still living inside you. And love does not disappear just because life looks different now. Connection can still return in small ways. Peace can still return in quiet ways. Warmth can still find you in a morning routine, a simple call, a familiar voice, a kind neighbor. Meaning can still grow in a slower life. Sometimes it grows more gently, but it still grows. The first helpful step is to tell the truth to yourself without shame. Not, I am being foolish. Not, I should be stronger. Just this, I feel lonely today. Those words may sound small, but they matter. They stop the hiding. They stop the blame. When you name the feeling honestly, it often becomes less heavy than when you fight it in silence. You do not have to make it dramatic. You only have to make it real. Another gentle step is to notice your hardest hours. Maybe late afternoon feels empty. Maybe dinner time stings. Maybe Sundays feel too wide and too quiet. Once you know your hard moments, you can care for them instead of being surprised by them. You can plan a phone call before evening. You can play music at dinner. You can step outside at sunset. Small acts do not erase loneliness, but they can soften its sharpest corners. A third step is to reach out in very small ways. You do not need the perfect words. You do not need a long conversation. You do not need to sound cheerful. You can say, I was thinking of you today, or I wanted to hear a familiar voice. You can send a short text. You can leave a message. You can invite one simple moment. This matters because waiting in silence can become its own kind of prison. Reaching out may feel risky, especially if you fear no answer. That fear is real. But one small attempt can remind you that you still have a place in the lives around you. A fourth step is to build 1 or 2 steady routines that belong only to you. Not busy work. Not something to fill time without meaning. Something gentle that gives the day a shape. It could be coffee by the window at the same hour each morning. It could be a short walk, a puzzle, a journal, a prayer, or a call with one trusted person. It could be feeding birds, watering plants, reading a few pages, or sitting on the porch before dinner. These little routines are not silly. They tell your nervous heart that your life still has rhythm. And rhythm matters. It gives the day a beginning, a middle, and something to lean on. A fifth step is to protect your sense of worth, especially on the quiet days. Silence can lie to you. It can make you feel forgotten, unimportant, or left behind. But a quiet phone does not measure your value. An empty afternoon does not define your life. You are not less meaningful because fewer people see your daily routine now. You are not a burden because you still need warmth, company, and care. You are not asking for too much when you want to feel remembered. Your value was never based only on how useful you were to others. It was not tied only to work or parenting or how many people needed you that week. You matter because you are here, because your life carries memory, love, loss, wisdom, and dignity. And none of that disappears in a lonely season. It can also help to make one place in your home feel especially kind to you. A chair with a soft blanket, a lamp with warm light, a small table with photos or books. A place like that can become more than a corner. It can become a gentle message to yourself. It says, I still deserve comfort. I still deserve calm. I still deserve a life that feels cared for. If faith is part of your life, lean into it without apology. If memory is part of your comfort, let it sit beside you without guilt. If tears come some days, let them come. Tears are not failure. They are honest company. And if laughter surprises you on another day, let that come too. You do not have to stay loyal to sadness just because you have known it for a long time. You are allowed to feel better in small pieces. You're allowed to enjoy one meal, one call, one sunny chair, one kind morning. Healing at this stage of life does not always look big. Sometimes it looks very ordinary. It looks like answering the phone, opening the curtains, saying yes to coffee, taking a shower before noon. It looks like letting one part of the day feel alive again. Please hear this clearly. You are not invisible. You are not too old to be understood. You are not too far gone to feel close to someone again. You are not weak because quiet hurts you. Quiet hurts because your heart still reaches for life. You are not strange for missing what used to be. You are not needy for wishing someone would ask how you were doing and wait for the real answer. And you are not alone in this feeling, even if it often arrives when no one is near. There are other hearts carrying the same silence tonight. There are other hands resting beside untouched phones. But right now, I want this to feel personal. I want you to know that your pain makes sense. There is nothing foolish about wanting warmth, conversation, and a place to belong. Those are not childish wishes. They are deeply human needs. And even now, after all these years, your heart still deserves them. So if today has felt heavy, maybe let this be a softer ending than the day began with. Take a slow breath, unclench your hands, look around the room you are in. You are here. You have made it through many hard seasons before this one. That does not mean this season is easy. It only means you are still carrying strength, even now. Maybe tonight you light a lamp a little earlier. Maybe tomorrow you call one person. Maybe you open the door for a short walk. Maybe you simply tell yourself the truth with kindness. Any one of those things is enough for now. You do not need to become a different person. You only need one small step toward warmth. And if this voice has stayed with you like a kind companion, I would be glad to stay connected. If you want, you can leave a simple comment and say, I understand this feeling. You can also like the video or subscribe so the next quiet evening brings you something gentle again. Until then, please remember this. Your life still matters, your heart still matters, and you still matter very much.